Hello and welcome back to Agile Coaching Foundations program. In the last video, we talked about core competencies for professional coaching, more focused on one-on-one coaching. In this particular video, we will be talking about what team coaching is and how one-on-one coaching and team coaching are different. While the competencies remain same, how do or what additional elements supplement to team coaching competencies when overall the core competencies still remain the same, and how it integrates with the core competencies of individual coaching. That is something we will dig deeper into in this particular video, right? So let's get started about team coaching. So what is team coaching? Team coaching, as I said, is a pretty new phenomenon which has been brought in to existence by Professor Peter Hawkins and David Clutterbuck over the past 2-3 years. While it has been there and people have been undertaking team coaching, it has now been formalized through a set of research and publications by Peter Hawkins and David Clutterbuck. Sorry. So, what is team coaching? Team coaching is all about helping the team collaborate as a single unit, as a systemic unit within the organization to help them improve their performance, right? And help them to look at the team dynamics, how the team is operating today, how the people in the team are interacting with each other, what are their strengths, reflect on those. Is there enough respect, is there enough trust within the team? Explore all those elements, the intra-team dynamics that we are talking about. Look at all those elements and help the team to reflect consistently and continuously and have a dialogue between them to enhance their collaboration levels so that they can continuously deliver high value to the organization. That is what team coaching is all about. And I would say I've been fortunate enough to learn from directly Peter Hawkins and David Clutterbuck as part of Global Team Coaching Institute's programs on this particular element. So team coaching is about not looking at people individually in the team. Yes, we need to look at people individually, and that is where our professional coaching core competencies come into play. But when you look at them, what would you coach them on? You would coach them on their contribution to the team, their collaboration with other team members. What are their limitations which are stopping them from collaboration? What are their personality elements which are probably making conflicts arise? All those elements will need to be looked into. Their behaviors, their habits, their values, their beliefs, but in the context of the team. That is what is all about team coaching. And team coaching is also about helping the leaders develop that coaching competency. So coaching supervision is one of the core aspects of team coaching also. So let's look at what actually is the difference between one-on-one coaching and team coaching. And before we do that, let's just see what are the core competencies of team coaching. Absolutely, you will not find any difference in the core competencies. It's only what happens, what are the areas that are addressed within those core competencies that changes. What are you present two if you are talking about maintaining presence. How do you establish that agreement? With whom you are establishing agreement, right? When you are talking about facilitating client growth, what is the growth in the context of the team? What is the awareness that you create for people within the team? That is what changes. The overall competencies remain the same, but what happens, or how you, instead of how, what elements you focus on to exhibit those competencies for the team is what changes, right? So otherwise there is no change in the core competencies. There are supplementary competencies that are brought in within these core competencies. And if you look at the learning portal, you will see a great document published by ICF on team coaching competencies, and it talks about what are all the supplementary competencies, how it is exhibited as well, and what happens within those competencies, and how they integrate with the one-on-one or individual coaching core competencies. So that's also a great additional reference for you that we have added to the learning portal. So after this video, I would strongly recommend you to read that document, well enough. Okay. And then if you are really keen on further exploring team coaching, you can read, coaching teams. There is a book by David Clutterbuck. You can always go ahead and read that book as well. Now, looking at what is the difference between one-on-one coaching versus team coaching. These are the aspects we will discuss about, right? First, when you talk about scope, what is the scope that we are addressing when we are talking about one-on-one coaching versus team coaching? Now, when you talk about scope, the scope for one-on-one coaching is more about personal growth of the individual or your client. But when you are talking about team, it is the growth of collective team. It's not about growth of each individual or one individual in the team. Collectively is the team moving forward. That is what is the focus or is the scope. It is not about making one person in the team great or one person become a master. No, that's not the goal. That's not the scope of the team coaching. Scope of the team coaching is about how can you help that group of people become a team, excel as a team, continuously evolve as a team, thrive and excel as a team. That is the scope of team coaching. And when you talk about objectives, when you talk about individual objectives, it's about fulfilling individuals' aspirations, their goals, their objectives that they have defined, whether they are relevant and whether they are aligning with their values individually. But when you talk about team perspective, the objective or the outcome that you are looking for is, has their performance been better after the team coaching? Are they gelling well? Are they collaborating more? Are they delivering value more consistently? Are they oriented towards the team than themselves? Right? Are they focusing on team goals rather than focusing on I want to become the best? It is good to think I want to become the best, but what will I change for the team by becoming the best? And how can I contribute to others being their best? Right? That is what is the focus on. How we are integrated well, how we are like a well-oiled machine, right? When you think about a car, if you just have a great, one of the best engines, but all the supporting components are not good enough, you can't get the best out of the car. For the car to give you best performance, best mileage that you are talking about, then you need every component in the system to be optimally designed, optimally performing. And that is same with the team as well. You want everybody in the team performing well enough, focused on the team goals rather than their own individual goals, putting other people in the team ahead of themselves, putting the team ahead of themselves, right? That is what is more important from an objectives perspective. Now, if you think about the complexity of coaching the team versus coaching individuals, when you are coaching individuals, it's one person, it's about what's happening with them. But when you are coaching a team, it's about people dynamic, it's about more than one person, how each other how the each member is looking at the other people in the team, right? And when you think about the communication channels, correct. There is a formula for communication channel which we look at from a project management perspective, right? Number of communication channels is equal to number of people in the team, that is n into n minus 1 by 2. That means every increase in one member in the team can exponentially increase the number of communication channels. The more communication channels exist, the more noise would be created, the more things would be lost in communication and translation, and that may lead to lot of differences, lot of conflicts, lot of you know opinions being generated, lot of perceptions being created. All those things would come up, right? So from that point of view, the complexity when you coach the team is much higher as compared to coaching an individual. That is one of the most important things to remember. Next, when you talk about conflicts, if you're talking about individual, it's about the conflict between the you know person within that person and what that person perceives the situation to be, right? That is the conflict, or conflict between my perception, if you are coaching me, and how others perceive me, right? So that is another conflict. But when you talk about the team coaching, the more communication channels increase, the conflicts also increase that much, right? And the conflict level is defined by the level of trust within the team. And level of trust, keeps varying based on what aspect of the people personality is being impacted in certain conversation, right? So from that point of view, the conflicts are quite exponential when you compare in a team versus an individual, correct? And the best thing that can happen when you are coaching the team, or what you need to be focusing on when you are coaching the team, is about helping the team embrace those conflicts, means helping the team to be able to resolve those conflicts, face them, resolve them amongst themselves rather than depending on you as a coach or the leadership of the team. If you are able to create that situation, then that is where your success lies as a team coach. That means that is the ultimate level of trust that you could help the team build, where they are openly able to talk about conflicts and say, and still respect each other and still perform well as a team. And that is when the dynamics are at best. Otherwise, you would see that when people avoid conflicts, what does that tell us? When people avoid conflicts, it means that they are having some fear of probably not being respected for their views, fear of their own capabilities being questioned, fear of their personality being judged, right? All those are creating dynamics between the different team members. And that is something also to be addressed. And for a coach, when you are coaching at a team level, what you need is that curiosity. What you need that is that highest level of listening, active listening at the highest level, to be able to see what even the team members are not seeing, to be able to observe those finite behaviors that give lot of clues to you as a coach, to have those observations being put back to the team again, to help them reflect. Okay, I am sensing this, and this is what I saw. What is that you are sensing as a team? Correct? Then that starts, that creates a kind of conversation in the team, and it starts bringing out those probably the insecurities, probably the conflicts, probably the complexities, perceptions. All those dynamics will be out in the open. So we as team coaches need to be having great presence to really understand what people are talking, and what is the energy within the room, how people are interacting with each other, not by just by the way they are speaking, but their body language, how they are open to each other, how they are kind of dealing with each other's personalities within that conversation. So all those elements also need to be looked into. And then looking at dependencies, right? So when you are in a team, you will definitely have dependencies between the members within the team. So it's also about how you create that sustenance rather than creating a single point of failure. So how do you create an environment where people are open to share their knowledge, people are transparently explaining what they are doing today rather than keeping everything to themselves? That means when you have a full open and transparent environment where everybody knows everything that is happening in the team, everybody is at least at a certain level of competency, where you don't need to depend on one person, right? That is when you will be able to pull the work irrespective of what complexity of the work is coming in. Correct? That is when you are more self managed. You are not depending on one person. Yes, you may need support, that is very much okay, but you are not depending on one individual for an expertise. Everybody in the team is placed well enough to be able to really pick up whatever work that comes through and deliver, rather than entirely depending on a certain individual in the team. So those are the kind of dependencies, whether it is from a skill perspective, technical skill perspective, or even expertise perspective, or even from a relationship perspective, right? That also needs to be looked into. And the next point is about competencies. It's about collective competency. That means, can you have everybody in the team upskilling themselves and people supporting them to upskill, trying to bring them to that a definite level of expertise that is required for them to consistently deliver the value. That is something again is very important. The competency level when you are coaching a team is to ensure everybody is at almost an equal level of competence on that particular domain that they are working on. And how people or experts who are in the team can coach, mentor, guide the people who are probably kind of new joiners, or somebody who is less experienced, or somebody who has come from a different you know uh, domain, business domain, into this domain. And it's not always about just the technology. I may know the technology, but I don't know how the technology is being used in this context of the business. Somebody coming from retail to, let's say, a product, a specific technology product delivery company, coming from retail to probably banking, right? Or vice versa, going from a banking industry to an healthcare industry. Definitely, they would know the domain, technology domain. They may know the the competency around the specific skill set which is required, but they may not know the context of that particular business domain, and that is where the competencies level of competency needs to be coached upon, right? So those are the various differences between one-on-one coaching versus team coaching. I hope you, and this is not an exhaustive list. Again, there could be few more things that we can look at, but more or less, I think these should cover for most of the things that we coach a team versus an individual on. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this particular session, and we come to the activity part again. So we talked about differences between one-on-one coaching and team coaching in terms of same competencies that we have defined for the individual coaching. So looking at what team coaching is and with the understanding of the differences, if you have to rate yourself on the core competencies, again, from a team coaching perspective, not from an individual coaching perspective, so how do you rate yourself? And that question always is asked, and I am very clear on that. What evidence can you really look at? What tells you that you are at that level, right? That evidence is very important. So that is something we want you to reflect on, and we would like you to really upload your answers, your reflections onto the learning portal in the assessment tab. That's all for this video. I hope you are enjoying the discussions and reflections. I look forward to having you back again in the next video, where we will talk about the coaching process. How does coaching work? What happens? What are the different steps when we are coaching individuals or coaching teams? The process remains the same. That is what something we will address in the next video. Thank you for joining us today. We will look forward to seeing you back in the next session. Happy learnings.